Assalamu alaikum, good evening, and welcome to tonight's episode of Talking Points. I'm your host, Syed Neaz Ahmad. With us today, we have a gentleman not very far from Europe, from Saudi Arabia. He's a media personality, or shall I say, an icon of a personality. Until recently, he has been an active journalist, former editor-in-chief of Saudi Gazette and Arab News, the two distinguished dailies, English language dailies of Saudi Arabia. He was also a Saudi TV news anchor, talk show host, broadcaster, lecturer. And for over 30 years he has been in media, and he was also the CEO of a public relations company. In one word, I will call him an icon of a personality. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
There is so much to talk about, and we have not met for a long, long time, sir. You have represented Saudi media at Arab summits in Baghdad and Morocco. You have traveled to Russia when the diplomatic relations were resumed between Russia and Saudi Arabia. You have also been to China on diplomatic missions. Now, the viewers of our channel have not seen you before, and it's my distinguished honor to have asked you and requested you, and you have kindly consented. So I would like you to tell us something about yourself, how Mr. Khaled Almaeena, a young man who visited India, Pakistan and other countries, became the legend of a journalist that he is today. Yes, sir.
Alhamdulillah, I think my life has been a series of adventures. In fact, I never thought I would meet a field. I was working somewhere, and one day I was asked to be the editor of Arab News. I was good in English rights. I was not an editor. So I went to Arab News the first day. It was a very frightening day because I had no idea what a newspaper was like. And I was lucky. I had good teachers. The newspaper was founded, and the company was founded by two legendary brothers, the Hafiz brothers from Medina, Hisham and Muhammad Ali Hafiz. And I joined it at a young age. And subhanallah, sales went up. I added things using my managerial and marketing background. So we added things like, and because I was an avid reader of the British papers, so I was able to copy some of the things that they had, like letters to the editors, like that. Then I took chances, you see. And you have to take chances, you add new things. The dynamics of the paper changed. And then, of course, for quite some time, we catered to what were the needs of our clientele, if one might say, or readers, who were mainly from Europe and the subcontinent, and very few Saudis in those days.
Right.
But as the time passed, and there were some accidents of history that helped me, the 1982 invasion of Lebanon, the assassinations that took place in the year of Mrs. The end of the Cold of the Berlin Wall, the attack and the occupation of Kuwait. Arab News was always there. And by being there, you see, we were first. So we were called the Green Truth, and yours truly was called the People. But I had a great team. And alhamdulillah, we were able to manage with that team and be a small paper in an Arab-speaking country. We made a mark.
You made quite an impact, particularly because there were no other newspapers of, in English language, but we were followed by Saudi Gazette, and then Arab News was obviously the first one, and it went from to heights and greater heights achieved. What was the year that you joined Arab News? Which year did you join Arab News?
82.
82.
1982, it was June 1st I joined. As I said, I was asked to join by the publisher, and for me the first day was a day of complete turmoil and fear, because I did not know what a font was, I didn't know how pages were made, and I remember on the fourth day I wrote an editorial, and one of the American editors came in and said, "Who wrote this?" And I said, "I wrote it." He said, "Do you know English?" I said, "What do you think I'm doing here?" You know, that was the nice guy. Dave Kaiser is now gone and I think living in the States. But that was it. So you led a team, but as I said, I was very lucky because I was managing people when I was in Saudi. It was easy to manage people. Here, of course, there were so many Vietnamese, Indians, Arabs, Americans and all, but we were able to form a team.
Right.
And as time passed by, some left and some stayed. So we built a very cohesive team.
In 1985, I started writing a column in Arab News, if you remember. And that went on for nearly 20 years.
I remember your weekly. Yes, your weekly column.
Viewpoint.
And while you were in Mecca also.
Yes.
But it was also a source of news. Remember that we were the information arm. Satellites, there were no other means of communication except the radio. There was no cement like us. And, you know, we had that thing that came in, as they said, I saw it on CNN, the expression, I read it in the Arab News.
Great.
And in all humility, I say it was due to a fantastic team, irreplaceable, and they did a great thing. And remember, as I said, we were an English language paper in an Arabic-speaking country that made a mark.
Right, true. And obviously it was very much because of the leadership that you provided. How is this pandemic behaving in Saudi Arabia, and what is the role of the health personnel and health departments, and how are they handling it? I know that you have a very sparse population, cities are far away, so probably keeping the distance, social distance is not much of a problem. But how are you managing it all? How are you managing this coronavirus thing in Saudi Arabia?
Quickly, yes. 2 or 3 things happened. The first is that quick action was taken right from the end of February, when the danger was looming over the horizon. The authorities here in March started taking action. Later on, in all honesty, started giving actions in different languages, because remember there are so many cultures and subcultures that are here.
Yeah.
And trying to apprise the people. And I think that helped a lot. But we have had a surge nowadays because more testing and screening is, and but at the same time the awareness program is going on.
Right.
And it has nothing to do with doing the Umrah way here, the lesser pilgrimage.
Yep. We will come to the Hajj and Umrah thing later. You know, like coronavirus has had an impact all over the world. See, economies are suffering. British economy shrank 20% in April, see. So it has had an influence on oil production, oil consumption. I'm happy personally, and there are many others who drive their cars, that the oil price has gone down at the petrol pumps. Yes, but I'm sure that the economy in oil producing country must have taken a little bit of beating. What do you think?
Oh, yes. Yes, the consumption around the globe has gone down. Oil prices went down dramatically. Many other things, but in addition to that, the service industry in Saudi Arabia and in the Gulf also was hit, because remember, hotels, travel agencies, transport companies that deal with passengers and all went down because of the lockdown, and we had very strong measures taken to prevent this. The lockdowns that took place at several periods, whether it was from 6 to 3 or from then 8 to 5, where all shopping malls were closed. So you have the equivalent of Selfridges and Harrods closed here. You have many shops that are closed. Small businesses were affected, the haberdashery, the salons, the barber shops, things like that. And it's unfortunate, but this was an effect of this pandemic, and it had to be taken. I mean, it's easy to deprive people of their livelihoods, but at the same time, one has to be very, one moment or the other, the pandemic spread. So there has been a toll on the economy.
You know, Saudi Arabia does host a large number of expatriate workers, you see. So when these shops and hospitality enterprises and centers and hotels, they were closed, you see. So how were they looked after, the workers, the expatriate workers? Were they looked after by the employers, or I understand that a lot of them have to leave, go back home?
Yes, the government did inject quite a large amount of money in the economy to help the small and medium enterprises so that they will be able to at least pay. So I think there have been several pay cuts across the board, starting from up to down. Pay cuts, there have been salary readjustments. Those employees who were outside the country have been told to stay out until they are able to come in, and they can't come in because, as you know, airlines are not operating. So imagine these people working. I had forgotten the airline industry and the shipping industry also. So the government did inject a large amount in the economy to keep it afloat. But at the same time, the major companies have also readjusted their wage and salary programs and other benefit programs, so in order that they will not be able to, they will be rather to get rid of a large layoffs, because you never know when this pandemic will be over, because suddenly then you will have to get them back again.
Right. Has this pandemic impacted the media business, newspapers?
The media had already been impacted from before. I mean, it has, because many people stopped going out. Remember when the curfew from the full day curfew or the evening curfew, people don't go out. So at the same time, it affects the distribution companies, which have been affected. So it has affected a lot. But at the same time, I would like to say that every dark cloud has a silver lining. The Saudi population, young and old, have now switched more to IT. So you have now things like hunger station, you have home delivery for food, you buy your iPhone or your Samsung online, things like that. And I noticed this all around me. Zoom has come in, and you know, they call it the Zoom generation. So you have all these conferences, and I think this will continue afterwards. because instead of going from Jeddah to Riyadh, or vice versa, you can have a conference with somebody in Riyadh and you don't have to spend money. So I think this pandemic also has got some very positive effects on the Saudi society and other societies around the world. And one more thing is the distance learning. I noticed among a lot of people in my family, the young people are, doing distance learning, studying. In some of the schools, they ask the students even to wear the uniform while they're sitting in their house to give the semblance of a school-going day.
Yes, that's very good. And today's interview is an example of how we have been compelled to use technology. Otherwise, we could be interviewing you over phone and then showing you a picture. But today we can see you live talking to us in London while you are in Saudi Arabia. The other day, by the way, I saw your interview on one of the Indian channels, news channels, The Wire, see, and you talked about the Indian politics, a bit of politics, and how Muslims are being treated there. How does Saudi Arabia react to what is happening in India with the Muslims? You see, it's a long story. It's an older story. Kashmir is one thing that's been going on. OIC is there, but a lot of people say that it's not a very effective organization. There was a resolution, but it was stopped by Maldives, of a country, a very weak country that depends on other countries for support. It possibly stopped that resolution to be passed. I do not know what happened to that resolution of OIC. If we don't stand united, then Muslims elsewhere will be suffering, as they have been suffering for some time. What do you think?
Well, I agree with you. I mean, the problems in India have been going on for decades. The Kashmir problem, I mean, could have been resolved a long time ago, but unfortunately, the abrogation of Article 370 of the Indian Constitution, done in a very abrupt manner, changed the landscape. Now, we ask for, saner elements on both sides. And let me be very frank with you. In India, there are some very good people who are noble and honorable people, and they would like. But then these days there are, populist governments. People come in and they go around, and you've seen them around the globe. And unfortunately, this fascist tendency has crept in. And it's done by people who are, have a low esteem of themselves, be they in high places, and are dysfunctional. I think both India and Pakistan should talk, that is vis-a-vis Kashmir. But vis-a-vis the Indian Muslims, I'm appalled. I mean, this is Gandhi's India and Nehru's ideology. They've all been, swept aside and thrown away.
Thrown out of the window.
They are now talking about secularism while talking about minorities. In a secular country, you don't have a minority in that sense. You have groups, and you cannot just do away with the Muslims. I believe it's a great sense of inferiority complex among the RSS and the Bucks that, okay, now we are ruling, we're going to flex our muscles. But India is a country of diversity. It's a country of beautiful mosaic. And this mosaic should not be disturbed, you see, because everything adds up. My advice to the Indians is to have a big fight, a fight against poverty, disease, intolerance, hunger, and the same thing goes across the border in Pakistan.
True.
And I'll be very frank with you. I mean, I love the subcontinent. I've been there for a long time. I speak some of the languages, I mean, at least one language or two. And this, pains me. It really pains me to see that so much negative energy, so much of hate, and especially from India. I mean, it's appalling. It's frightening, and I'm just pained.
Have you been in touch with your friend Imran Khan, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, to try to help solve this problem?
Well, I'm not a Gunnar Yaring or a UN special envoy, but You know, if I meet him, I mean, I met him. He has been to my house several times. In fact, I've known all the Pakistani prime ministers for the last two, Musharraf, and I was given, as you know, the
Nishan
Sitara
Pakistan.
Imtiaz, the highest civilian award. You know, it's in the interest of Saudi Arabia and the Gulf region to see quiet, peaceful, stable Southeast Asia, starting from the subcontinent.
Right. Well, very interesting. Well, some people think that the only obvious way, I mean, it's not my opinion, the only obvious way for India to understand is for the Gulf countries to apply economic pressure. Do you think that that is a viable suggestion?
Well,
India to
in
understand
these
the problems of the Muslims.
in these days of realpolitik, it's a bit difficult how what to do and what kind of approach to be made. But I think if there are organizations, whether they are the UN or the OIC, the Arab League, and the GCC,
Yeah.
make approaches and do it in such a way, because remember, India is also a sovereign country.
True,
And
true.
at the same time, it should be apprised that what it is doing or what a certain section of the people are doing is wrong. I think it's important. And I tell you, people are upset. I'm upset. Basically, politically, I'm a secular person in
Right.
that sense, you see. And I don't care who is who. I'm a member of the human race.
Right.
We love to see to it that people the world over focus on points of convergence and not
Right.
on divergence. You
Right.
see, human beings are human beings. You know, la ikrah fi din, there is no compulsion in religion. Islam has said that.
Okay.
But what pains me is to see the horrendous attacks on Muslims, on Arab women by some of these idiotic members of the ruling party,
Yes.
talking nonsense about
Yes.
us, about the Holy Prophet. And when you see the
Yes.
tweets, now I don't take Twitter seriously, although I'm on it off and on, but you see it's painful. And I think the Indian government can, if it has the political will, to tell all these howling and growling people that they should stop, because there might come a time when people say, what? I have a friend who said, why should I get people from India when I'm getting attacked?
Right.
So let's hope and see, as I said before, that the saner elements in India will do. And if there is a group of people who will, you know, tell the government and tell these members of parliament that enough is enough.
Yep. Possibly a change of hearts, a change of minds, and possibly a change of personalities.
They have made India look like you know, a horrible country. I mean, these lynchings, and the funny thing is, let me be very frank, and I don't mean to offend anyone. The same people who are killing Muslims for eating beef or
Right.
suspicion of eating beef
Yep.
are the same people who are exporting beef the world over. India is, I think, one of the largest
Yep.
exporters of beef.
And they say that it is not beef, it is buffalo.
You see, beef, well, you know, what is it? A rose is a rose, call it by any other name.
Yep.
So
Yes.
this
Yes.
is the thing.
Well, on this point, we'll take a short break, and when we come back, we will continue to listen to the very interesting bits and pieces of information that you have accumulated throughout your working life and your experience of meeting important people in the world. Thank you. We'll be back soon after this break. Thank you. Welcome back. Just before the break, we were talking to a famous Saudi journalist, Mr. Khaled Almaeena. We have a lot of topics and ideas on our plate, but we have to do justice, and we only want to discuss things that are important to our, close to our hearts. There's a lot of concern and confusion among the Muslim communities worldwide about this year's Hajj. Is it going to be held? Is it going to be delayed or say delayed until next year? Because a lot of the Hajj operators, these companies, hotels outside Saudi Arabia, and I'm sure that the impact is there, is being felt there too. What will happen, and when will the Umrah visa or the Hajj visa will be opened? What's happening?
Wallahi, to be very frank with you, I have no idea. Today only somebody sent me a note saying 49 days remaining for Hajj.
Yep.
And I have to check it up. Now, in all honesty, the prime concern of the government here is the coronavirus.
Right.
We heard also today that Malaysia and Indonesia, I think, have scaled down the Hajj or are not sending people. I don't know about other countries, but I think they will, while there are emotions for people to come, I think coming in the same numbers is going to be causing havoc, and the disease will spread, because you never know. Hajj could be a token Hajj. Some people were writing, especially in the subcontinent, they are going to ban, the word to ban Hajj, nobody can ban Hajj. But as we have done in Medina and Mecca, limited people to go, social distancing. So I think there'll be very few people coming from outside. I don't think so. Even if tomorrow the government said there is going to be Hajj, it will be on the same scale as on any ordinary in any ordinary year. So Hajj has been affected by pandemic.
Well, it will also again any travel, any tourism, where they call it religious tourism, it also comes with a package of economy. See, so the shops are there, they would sell, the hotel industry will suffer. So it will have an economic impact, see, emotional impact as well as economic impact, right?
Well, I agree with you, and I tell you that what happened for the Umrah and the airline stoppage and all, I think it was a very brave decision on the part of the Saudi government, and I don't mince words, you know me, I call a spade a spade. And I think it's a brave decision on the part of the Saudi government to go against the grain of thought of some of the ulama in and out, to curtail the Umrah and then to close the mosques and all. Because I think you look at the larger good, it's not just to protect the Saudis. I mean, imagine these people come and going back to their home countries. And this coronavirus is going to cause a lot of damage in the next 2 or 3 years. The effects of the coronavirus have yet to be studied. So I think I am for, personally, if you ask me, curtailing of the Hajj, and having very few people, maybe token representatives coming. I have no idea. I'm just speaking out my own personal observation. So to have some token Hajjis and following very stringent health measures. Otherwise, to have the normal Hajj, I don't think so. My gut feeling is you are not going to have that normal Hajj feeling, because already 48 days from tomorrow, and you need the houses and buildings, as you said, the supply chain, tents, mutawif, pilgrim guides. You can't do it within this short period.
True. So most likely it is going to be, say, can't use the word postponed. The Hajj cannot be postponed because it's related to the date from 8th of Dhul Hijjah to 12th or 13th of Dhul Hijjah. See, so we can't postpone the dates, but we can defer it maybe. But you can't have a Hajj in Shawwal or Dhul Qa'dah. You have to have a Hajj in Dhul Hijjah. So just like you can't have Christmas in July. See, so I am really concerned about the impact that it will have on the ulamas of many Muslim countries, you see, because as it is, we stand divided, and we feel very proud about he has a different opinion. We have Barelvis and Deobandis and Islahis and this and that, see, and some will even say Wahhabis. So people have different views, see, how they will take it and how will the Saudi government handle it, the Saudi ulamas will handle it. To me, that is very, appears very problematic.
Well, frankly, as I said, I mean, the quick and outright reaction and the decision-making process regarding the pandemic by the government, by the Ministry of Health, was very instrumental that it did not spread here, because the one thing that one was scared is with all these people who were already here. Remember when the epidemic or pandemic started, and how to get back to hold them. Now, regarding the ulama, I'll be very frank with you. I mean, the ulama should follow what the Holy Prophet spoke about pandemics. Craig Constantine, the gentleman who wrote in Time magazine, they should know that if something is there that affects the larger, population, then I think we have to take measures that are maybe a bitter pill to swallow. Now, you spoke about the Barelvis and the Deobandis and the Islahis and all, primarily from the subcontinent and all. Right. I am really sad to note that these people who are screaming about Salah and mosque, I told some of them that the Mecca and Medina were closed. So what could be a small mosque and pushing people and trying to get in?
True.
Again, I say that the larger good of the people, and this is also done to protect the people coming from outside.
True.
Imagine if they go back to India or Bangladesh or Pakistan or Indonesia and all this spreads, how will the health authorities there be able to come and take care of these people?
Right.
And even here. So I personally believe that, I mean, I'm all for at least readjusting the method of getting pilgrims here, or having some token representatives go for Hajj.
Right. A similar thing had happened in India when there was this conference of Tablighi Jamaat in India, in Delhi, and there was no social distancing, so it was played up by the interested parties, the political leaders, and they blamed them for being responsible for spreading COVID-19. And but sometimes good comes out of the bad. So those people who did suffer from or had the symptoms of the coronavirus, later they donated their stem cells for the improvement of those who were suffering acutely from the virus. So that sometimes it happens like that.
Yeah, but the Tablighi was limited. There were 16,000 people or 12,000 people, and also it was held in Malaysia and Indonesia. And I know somebody from the Gulf who went to Indonesia, a 48-year-old man who died of the corona.
Yep.
And, it was used by those who want to sort of damage the image of Islam and saying that Muslims are spreading corona. And I think this is something that is totally irresponsible to say that, something that you look down upon, the very person who said that. But why reach that situation? The Tablighis are a small group. True. But with the Hajj, with 3 million,
true.
It could be really a contagion.
Yes. And it's in a small area, see, Makkah, Mina, Muzdalifah, Arafat, and back again, see. And there's a constant movement of hundreds and thousands of people of different ages. As it is, there are a lot of people who of unstable health, weak, old persons, they do suffer, and a good number of them die. So that is there already, see. So it will be adding trouble to them, and also the spread of the virus will be another fear. Yes, sir.
Well, I agree with you on that, and I think I think any sane person would want to see that all steps should be taken by whatever agency, and there should be a consensus that a large congregation, especially at this period of this history, the history of the world, this pandemic would cause a lot, not only to the Asia, the Hajjis who are coming from Europe
Right.
and North America. So I think it's important. Prevention is better than cure.
True, true, true. Prevention is better than cure. And let's go for the prevention first and then think of the cure later. This is a very touchy topic. Black Lives Matter. The world has been overtaken by coronavirus, COVID-19. I was away from London in Middle East somewhere, and I was there until January, see, and I didn't realize that coronavirus is going to take over all of our activities, and if I had stayed long there, I would not have been able to travel back to London, see. But one was coronavirus, and now we have this incident of George Floyd being killed by a policeman, and this has this has been the tipping the scale of our emotions all over the world. Here in this country, in London, there have been demonstrations almost every day. They have been toppling down the statues of racist icons. In the Parliament Square today, they have boarded up the statues of famous leaders, you see. I know that you have traveled worldwide, you have lived in America, you have attended Harvard. So how do you see this? I mean, in Islam, we say every man is equal. See, our Prophet ﷺ in his Khutbatul Wida, he said that there is no distinction between Arab and a non-Arab and a white person and a black person and this person and that person, except taqwa. See, but we have gone so far away from these principles that it's just the color of their skin, and then we have an opinion about somebody's entire character. How do you see this?
I think you see this formulation of these ideas come through upbringing. For a long time, I remember when I was young and we used to see a movie of the cowboys and the Indians,
Yeah.
and I see an Indian being killed by John Wayne
Yeah.
or Gary Cooper, I would clap, and I'd say, "Oh yeah, you got it," and so and so. But later on, as you grow up, and I read about Geronimo,
Yeah.
"Bury my heart at wounded knee," you discover how much of atrocities were committed.
Yeah, it
You
was the
hear
good
about
guy
how
against the
they-
bad guy.
Yes.
We
Now
thought-
you
we
hear
thought,
about
yeah.
Leopold of Belgium, and you just check around. Then you heard about so many things in the Bengal famine,
Yeah.
and things like that. And then if you do a recollection of history, and I remember a rough, transliteration of a Nigerian. They said, until the lions learn how to write their history, it will always be the hunter's tale.
Right.
So
right.
it has always been that. The victors write it, and these people do that. So it's unfortunately, the people in the Afro-Americans have suffered a lot. We have said that. Many people throughout the world are suffering, the minorities based on religion. The Uyghurs are suffering. So many others have suffered. In Myanmar, they are suffering. And I think it's important that the world stands up. Now, it's okay to stand for one man and all, but
Right.
I wish also people in America would stand up and talk about Palestine, which has been usurped,
Right.
where every inch is being taken every day, where atrocities, suppression, oppression is happening, you see. And these are the issues. You cannot be selective in your human rights program. You cannot be selective, you like or not like. It's unfortunate, as is happening. A violation of human rights. We are all humans.
True,
I would
true.
hate to be end of a stick. And this is
Well,
what I've always said, that we really have to care at a higher level.
you are a champion of peace and human rights. See, how do you see the role of Arabs and Muslims vis-a-vis Palestine and Israelis? Excuse me.
Well, I don't know what is going to happen. In time, you have a government that should be strong enough to sort of thwart these measures being taken. In Israel, you have a right-wing government that is totally oblivious to what their own people are doing. They are not at all in any way willing to listen to any organizations. You have right-wing governments, people like from Brazil in Europe, who are just for the sake of being anti-Muslim, are thinking that we should, sort of give the Palestinians a hit, not knowing that the Palestinians are Christians and Muslims and belong to other the Orthodox Church. This is very important. So I think that we cannot be specific in human rights. It's very important to sort of look at the larger picture, and it's also important for us to apprise people. We are very the Arabs are very good storytellers, but unfortunately we have not been able to tell our story in the right way to people now, especially younger people who want to look at, unlike the others with the colonial mentality, which is now being erased.
What do you think of the future against the background of all these problems that we have talked about, the future for the Muslims and the Arab world? Do you think that the entire Arab world will be united again under one umbrella, like something like OIC, something like Arab League, something like the GCC, and it will be a group like European Union of powerful, economically powerful, politically powerful bloc that could really achieve things for the Muslim countries and the Muslim Ummah worldwide?
It needs political will. It needs statesmanship. It needs leadership. You see, the Arab world, despite its brimming coffers, lacks, a real Arab leadership. And I say, unfortunately, because of dictators, because of military coups, but the Arab people are nice people. I mean, they don't hate each other. They don't dislike each other. I mean, tomorrow, let's say, if Egypt or Libya or even Syria or Iraq is in the finals of a World Cup against another team, my sympathies, despite my opposition to the leadership, would be with the country.
Right.
And this is happening in Saudi Arabia, playing against someone. By and large, the people would support Saudi Arabia.
Right.
That's besides the point. I truly believe that there are no role models. Without going into detail, I used to tell some of the people in one of the Arab organizations, be like the EU, European Union. But now they laugh when they tell me, somebody called me, said, Khaled, you used to always tell us, be like the EU, and now look at Brexit, look at these people fighting. There are no role models anymore. When you said the President of the United States, you used to get goose pimples thinking of Eisenhower or Roosevelt, even Nixon or Kennedy. So we have to have role models, and there are no role models. We have to start finding role models within our own society. But more so, I'm very optimistic. The young Arab people who are educated, who are knowledgeable, who have a different vision of life and want to be, they want to be passengers on the train of progress. They don't want to be mere bystanders.
True.
And I see so much talent, even in Saudi Arabia. That's why I told you I'm very optimistic about the future of this country. In the last 2, 3, 4 years, so many new ideas by young people aged from 24 to 35, 40, having their own businesses, doing things, working, coming up with ideas, playing a role in social affairs, NGOs, and this applies across the Arab world.
Right.
Give them a chance.
Right. Well, most of the Muslim countries, they have the larger number of the population, they are young, educated, energetic. So any message to the youth of the Muslim world from a person like you?
My thing is have strong and deep faith, improve yourself, and remember not to give up. The road is long and tortuous, and even the road to excellence has no finishing line. So we have to really push and go ahead and try to excel. But the main thing is to have faith that as Muslims we owe it to ourselves, to our families, that to make this world a better place so that when we leave, you see, we will leave it for everyone else, not only Muslims, for everyone else to be together. At the same time, to try to have tolerance, not to be swayed by certain scholars of division. Do not ghettoize yourself. The world is big. The world is for everyone. Embrace others. Embrace not only tolerance, accept people as they are. And once you do that, it's important. More than that, you have to understand that women in the Muslim world and the young women are coming up. It's important that there should be a whole unity between the young people to work ahead and not divide into us and them.
Thank you very much, sir. One last question. You know, the media today plays a very important role. How to attract young Muslims and Muslimah to the media? Because a lot of people have no faith. They think that this media house is not honest and that media house is not honest. And a particular person has made the word fake news very popular, see. So it bounces around here and there.
Well, I think they should join the media. The media is not a well-paying job these days, but then there are areas, there are books, there are newspapers, there are online, there are blogs. You can really work and try to improve and make an impact. I agree with you that there is a lot of fake news, and it's important to have organizations that discern the pure from the impure, the lies from the truth. This is very important that we have to do. And I think they should go in, not necessarily that you have a major paper like the New York Times or the Guardian or something, but even in small local papers, in small, places where you can focus and talk to people and use websites, use other issues like the Drudge Report. If you remember the other newspapers in America that were small, the Huffington Post, all these started on a small scale. Main thing is to be credible. Credibility is the first issue. Now, you touched a point in which you said that about this media is against us and that media is against us. I agree with you. There are a lot of mean people out there, Mr. Neaz. You could say everything, they could write nonsense. And it's sad that it comes from people who mean harm for us. You know, even somebody said in America, the actor, he said, even paranoids have real enemies. We have some real enemies, right? But we don't have to go and project ourselves through public relation companies and trying to improve our image. We should do it through our own people, indigenous people, try to reach out to other people. This is important. But there are people who, whatever you do, they will always tell wrong things about you. This has happened. We have been a victim here in Saudi Arabia because they lie. Truth has been changed into lies. You know, anything that you do and looked at with disfavor, and I say, look to them, you know, go ahead and do what you want. These people, and especially in some of the major newspapers, they write whatever they want. So they are not against us. So also, let's not be paranoid. we come and express our views, we have to have a strong view, we have to have a liberal media, we have to be credible, and I would tell these young people, never be swayed by any pressure from outside.
Thank you very much, sir. It was a pleasure and an honor to have you with us, and it would have been a greater pleasure and honor to have you in the studios, but because of the circumstances, we can't travel these days. I would have come to Jeddah to interview you, but that's not possible today. So inshallah we'll meet again. May Allah bless you and may Allah protect you from all the harms. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And my compliments to your family.
Thank you. It's been a great pleasure on my side. Thank you very much.
Great to see you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye. Thank you very much for being with us, our viewers. We hope that you have enjoyed the show as much as we have. And same time, same channel, next week with another very distinguished personality. See you and take care.